You need to be your number one priority. And the reason for this is because the most important relationship you're ever gonna have for the rest of your life is your relationship with yourself. This relationship will dictate every other relationship you have and every experience you experience, all of it. So if you don't have a good relationship with yourself and you don't make you your number one priority, everything else in your life will suffer the consequences of that. Hi, it's Julia. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. This video is all about why you need to make yourself your number one priority. I'm going to give you some examples of ways in which I do this, and also the consequences of what happens when you don't do this. You've probably experienced it, but we're going to go over it and reiterate it so that you can really ingrain it into your mind and embody this in your life. Because once you start putting you as number one, everything around you will change. You will become the main character of your life, and every other thing and person will take a supporting role. And that's really important because your world needs to revolve around you, because this is your life. Like I always say, you can't pour from an empty glass. So if you're not prioritizing yourself and pouring into your glass, you won't be able to give your overflow to anyone else because you won't have an overflow. And you can't help other people if you're not good within you. So actually putting yourself first and prioritizing yourself is the most unselfish thing you can do. If you're doing it from the intent of, I take care of me and then I get to be of service to others. I guess if you were to do this and to only be like, well, it's me and only me and no one else matters in the world, then yeah, maybe that is a bit narcissistic and selfish bad. But I tend to see when people pour into their self and they give their self what they need, usually it makes them want to help others get to that same place because they know how good it feels inside. At least that is how I feel about this. And if you're watching this, I can tell you're probably a person of integrity who wants to exist happily in this world and have others exist happily with them in this world. So with that being said, let's get into the ways that I prioritize myself. The things I do on a regular basis that makes me feel good enough to exist in the world and interact with other people and not feel like I'm draining other people of their energy because I'm so low and empty and this and that. So one of the first most important things that I do to set me up to have a good day, no matter what the day is going to be, whether the day is going to be about me or the day is going to be about somebody else or the day is going to be about the project I'm working on, is doing my morning routine. And after I've done my morning routine, I'm good to go anywhere in the world and do anything, but I need to do my morning routine first so that I can feel like I'm ready for life. If I skip my morning routine, then I'm going to be thinking in the back of my head like I didn't do the things I needed to do to feel like I can function properly, and I'm not going to be functioning from a place of presence. I'm going to be thinking in the back of my head all these things that I didn't do that I need to do. That can also go for night routines depending on what you need. Not everyone needs a morning routine or a night routine, but if you're like me and you're the type of person who really does need a morning and a night routine, don't sacrifice that, don't skip that for anything. Don't make plans during that time. Prioritize your routine, because when you prioritize your routine, that is saying to yourself, I am prioritizing me. Sometimes I do make plans later at night, and I do this occasionally, and sometimes I regret it because I know I still have to do my routines and I'm not going to skip them even if I do get less sleep, which can be sort of like a balancing act, because I know prioritizing myself also means prioritizing my sleep and also prioritizing my routine. But there are times when I want to do something social with my friends that ends up being a later activity in the evening, and for me it's just finding the balance of like, how am I going to do all of these things? And sometimes I have to cut corners in one area for another thing. I mean, that's what prioritizing is. And lately I've been cutting corners on sleep, which I'm realizing that I cannot do because I need my sleep. So now I have to go back to the drawing board, reconfigure things, and set boundaries around my sleep. And moving forward, I have to be like, okay, I'm not available from this time on because I need my sleep. And I have been pretty good about doing that, but the past 2 weeks, not so much. But it's okay, because having the awareness to see that means that you can change that. Another way I like to prioritize myself is taking time to myself to just exist within my own energy. Sometimes that could look like taking a few days to just not really be around people. If that's not an option for you because you have a family or you have work or just obligations with other people, then making certain time in your day for yourself is another way to do that. You can take an hour to just prioritize your self-care, or take an hour to just meditate or sit or journal or just be within your own energy and silence, whatever you need. It's really just figuring out what works best for you and what makes makes you feel like you're a priority to yourself, because maybe that isn't something that you need, but for other people, maybe it is. Another thing I like to do is go on walks and be in nature. When it's warm, I like to go to the beach. I like to go for car rides and play my own music without worrying about if anybody's gonna like the music I'm playing or, you know, whatever. That was nice to do in the summertime because I would go on drives to the beach, and so I would get to experience car rides and I'd experience nature, and it was like a good taking the day for myself to do that type of situation. But you know, it's not always summer. We don't always have the time. So if you're hustling and bustling and don't have as much time, it's just taking those moments in between things to allow yourself to experience what feels good for you. Another thing I like to do is take myself on cute little dates. I like to take myself to the vegan bakeries, to the vegan coffee shops, get my favorite smoothie. Taking yourself out somewhere, dressing cute, dressing in a way that makes you feel good about you, and treating yourself to something delicious is just the best feeling. I love it. It's one of my favorite things to do. Another thing that I recently started doing, which you guys know from my last video, is my meditation challenge. And that is where I meditate twice a day, every day, no matter what. And not every meditation I do is going to be the best meditation ever. I'm not always going to be super focused, but keeping that promise to myself and prioritizing meditating every day has become very important to me the past week or so of doing this. And now I feel like prioritizing meditating is also prioritizing me, because it's a promise I made to me. And I also know that the more I do this, the better I will get at it, and the things that will come from me meditating are going to be very beneficial to me as a person. That has become a very important priority of mine for myself. Another thing that I like to do that I don't do enough is self check-ins. And if you have a therapist and you do weekly therapy or monthly therapy like me, that can also be a time for self check-ins. But if you don't do therapy, I think it's really important to set dates with yourself to check in, or even if you're feeling really strong emotions, to just check out of the world and then check in with you. If you enjoy journaling, if you enjoy meditating, you can do that during these times as well. Or you can just take a moment to sit with yourself and ask yourself, what am I feeling? What is running in the back of my head right now? What are some things I put on the back burner for myself that I need to address? Taking a moment to just be with you and check in with yourself and see what's really going on within is so important and so crucial. So if you don't have a place to do that, it's really important to set that space for yourself. I know a lot of people who are in really healthy relationships will do that within the relationship. They'll do like monthly check-ins, weekly check-ins to see like what could they do better, what has been really great, what are they grateful for, that they've been doing for each other, this and that. They'll check in and they'll ask each other these questions. They'll bring up things that are maybe lacking that they need to improve on. Well, like I said, your most important relationship is with you. So by having self check-ins, you are really prioritizing that relationship to yourself, to improve it, to maintain it, to make it the best that it can be. This one may not seem as important, but it kind of is in a very underlying way. And that is watching the stuff that you want to watch, listening to the stuff that you want to listen to. This might not be relatable to everyone, but I know for myself and for a lot of my friends, we can tend to fall into a very people pleaser category of life. And so when I'm with other people, I'll be like, oh, you can aux, like play whatever you want, or oh, I'll watch whatever you want to watch. And sometimes I'll realize like I'm watching things or listening to things that it's not that I don't like it, but it's just not my flavor. It's just not what is enticing for me. And you know, that's okay too. Sometimes I can learn things. Sometimes I could find new music that maybe I didn't really like before, but now, you know what, I'm open to it. So I think it is good to experience other people's taste, but I think it's also really important to experience your own taste and your own flavors of the things that you want to consume, watch, listen to. This could go for even eating out with friends. Like you might go to a restaurant that they prefer, but you really want to go to this restaurant, but you're fine with the restaurant that you're eating at. So it's important to, like, if you're doing a self date, go to that restaurant that you just really want to go to. Listen to the music that you just really want to listen to. Watch the movie that you really want to watch. It's okay to do those things with other people, and also it's important to prioritize doing the things that you want to do for you with you. And you can also do them with others as well, which will lead to my next point, which is asserting what you want and need with others, even if it goes against what they want to need. So sometimes, you know, asserting the fact, hey, I know you want to go to this other restaurant, but we've been going to a lot of the restaurants that you've been choosing the past few weeks. How about we go to this restaurant this time for me, and then next time we'll go to another one that you like. You know, finding a compromise, but not being afraid to assert like, like, hey, I want to aux right now. Let's listen to this music. And if they have a problem with that, okay, let's talk it out. Let's figure this out. And if they still have a problem with it, even after you talk it out and come to a happy compromise, maybe they're not for you. But it's really important for us to face the fear of whatever we're afraid of when it comes to asserting what we want and need, because we're never going to truly be able to enjoy ourselves with others if we can't assert those things, because even people with the best of intent can't read your mind and can't just do what you want them to do. You have to tell them. You have to effectively communicate it. And if you don't, they'll never know, and you could cause those relationships and friendships to suffer due to the fact that you just can't communicate. And it's an easy fix. Even though it can seem scary in the moment, maybe you fear conflict, maybe you fear putting a wedge in between you and these people, but if asserting what you really want and what you really need puts a wedge in between you and these people, then they're not your people, for one. And also, you're never gonna really get to truly show your authentic self to them if you can't just be who you are and express what you want to express. I feel like this is more of a message for me to me, because I have such a tendency to be like, oh no, like, let's do what you want to do, or oh no, like, let's listen to what you want to listen to. With food, I can be a little more like, no, I really want this, because I'm pretty passionate about eating yummy vegan food. But a lot of times when it comes to just like small things like playing music or, you know, watching a movie or watching a show or whatever it is, I'll just be like, no, you choose. You know, sometimes you gotta just say what you want to watch and what you want to listen to and what you want to do, because then those other people get to learn what you like, and then they get to suggest it later if they want to do something for you or if they want to surprise you with something. Part of prioritizing yourself is actually letting the correct people who have proven themselves to be good people to you into your world, and then you can really see how good of a person they are in your life based off of how they react to that and how they show up moving forward. Because if you never let people in, you'll never really know. Another thing that I struggle with that is super important when it comes to prioritizing yourself is asserting what you want and need when it comes to strangers. So like when I'm dealing with people in the service industry, at restaurants or places that I order food, I have a hard time speaking up when my order comes out incorrectly, unless they give me something that I just can't eat because it's not vegan food, like dairy, eggs, meats, whatever. So let me give you a real life example that happened to me yesterday and that happened to me 2 days ago. So I was at a vegan restaurant 2 days ago. I ordered a mocktail and it said that it had mango puree. I had this mocktail about a month ago and it was like a yellowy, whatever, mango color. Delicious mocktail. But they bring me a mocktail and it's a different color. It's more of like a reddish orangey color and it tastes like ginger, not mango, and I can't find any mango puree in the mocktail. So I asked the waiter, is this the mango puree drink? Like, does it taste the way it did before? Like, it's fine, but it's just not the same. And then he went back and brought me a new one. That is an example where I spoke up and was able to assert what I wanted and needed. They ended up bringing me the same drinks. I think they just changed the recipe and didn't update the menu, but it was fine and I wasn't mad about it, and I'm glad that I spoke up anyway regardless, because in most situations I would just take the drink and be like, you know, this isn't the same, but I'm not gonna question it. So I'm glad that I questioned it, even though the results, it didn't matter. But that was a moment where I wasn't thinking about, oh my gosh, like I don't want to bother anyone or piss anyone off. I actually just did it. But yesterday a similar situation happened where I was at a vegetarian food bar, so I knew everything was going to be vegan anyway because it's like marked. So it's not like, oh, I can't eat this if you give me the wrong thing, just like the vegan restaurant. But I had asked for a medium-sized soup and the lady had poured me a small soup. And I was sitting there debating in my head for a good 5 minutes. Do I tell her that I wanted a medium soup when she already packaged the small soup? I feel bad. She already put it together. I should just take the small soup. And then there's another part of me that's like, no, you wanted the medium soup. Are you going to be happy with a small? No, I'm not going to be happy with a small. So then I had to push myself to address the situation and be like, oh, I actually asked for a medium soup. Is it okay if we switch it to that? Because that's what I intended on. And that was fine. She went back, switched it, no big deal. And then I got to rest in the fact that I will have my soup for dinner and not be hungry because it was small when I wanted medium. But there's so many situations where I don't do that, and the consequences of it is I have to suffer later because I was afraid to speak up and ask for what I wanted or correct whatever came out wrong in the first place. And the more you push yourself to speak up for yourself, the easier it gets to do it. And the less that you speak up for yourself, the harder it gets for you to feel okay to do it. So the consequences of not speaking up is that it becomes harder harder and harder for you to speak up. And depending on the situation, you will dig yourself deeper and deeper into the hole of not being authentic. In the soup situation, in the beverage situation, you know, like I'm gonna leave those places and I'll probably never see those people again. But in situations where it's with a family member, a close friend, a partner, somebody who's gonna be consistently in your life, the longer you wait to speak up, the harder it will be and the deeper you will dig yourself into that hole of inauthenticity. The times that I find it the hardest to speak up are the times where I think I'm going to offend somebody with what I have to say and how I feel. And those can be the hardest because those are usually people that are in closer proximity to us. And I can find myself being super avoidant to those people when I am afraid to tell them something because I don't want to hurt their feelings, but at the same time, I do want to prioritize myself. And those can be the hardest situations to really speak up and stand up for yourself in, because you don't want to hurt the other person, but you also don't want to cause suffering for yourself. And I will say those are the most worth it times to speak up, because that is the only way you're going to be able to continue to have a good relationship with yourself and a good relationship with the other person. Because if you don't speak up, then you either create distance between you and that person, or you create distance between you, and then you start to lose yourself in that situation if you create distance between you and you. Or if you create distance with you and that person, then you start to lose that person. So it's always important to think it through and communicate effectively and in a way that's both respectful, kind, and caring of both you and the other person. But it's very important for you to communicate it if you want to keep a good relationship with yourself and if you want to keep a good relationship with the other person. That is the only way to prioritize yourself while also still being a caring and kind person and prioritizing your relationships to other people. And the benefits of you prioritizing yourself is people are going to respect you so much more when you don't let them do whatever they want with you, walk all over you, talk to you however they want, whatever. Even if you're surrounding yourself with people of integrity, people are not mind readers, like I said, and if you can't set boundaries, you can't prioritize you, people are not going to know how to treat you, and they're just going to treat you the best way they can with what they know, but it's not going to be customized to you and how you want to be treated. Even if they're treating you with respect and kindness, it still might not be your flavor if you don't communicate what you need and want. So by prioritizing yourself, it will lead to not only your own self-respect, but others respecting you. It also makes you a safer person to be around because people know you're going to tell them if you don't like something. They're not going to be thinking in the back of their head, walking on eggshells being like, I don't know, does Julia like this? Like, I can't tell. Like, she doesn't say. Like, does she want that? Does she not want that? Like, she seems really wishy-washy. She's kind of like maybe this, maybe that. A person who prioritizes themselves is clear. I like this. I want this. I don't like this. I don't want that. And that can make other people feel a lot more comfortable around you. And it can also be inspiring to them to also prioritize themselves and be like, well, you know, she tells me what she likes and what she doesn't like. I'll tell her also what I like and don't like. People are constantly mirroring you back to you, matching your energy, whether they realize it or not. So if you are prioritizing yourself, you're gonna see that matched back. You're gonna have better, healthier relationships with other people, but especially with yourself. So that's all for this week's video. I love you guys so much, and I will see you in my next video next week. Bye!